So the first shoe that I mentioned I wanted to buy in my shoes I plan to buy in 2024 video was the Puma Velocity Nitro 3. And then I realized I never actually did a preview and market analysis of that shoe because when we went to TRE, it was still under embargo. So this came off of embargo January 1st. You might have seen some information about it coming out. I want to play the interview that I did with the Puma rep there so you can see a little bit more of the details and go hands-on with the shoe with us. And then also I wanted to do a little bit of a market analysis. We haven't done one of those in a while, talking about how the shoe fits in the current daily training landscape in 2024. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're an OG, you know the drill. Let's get into it. So the Puma Velocity Nitro 3 is a workhorse style daily trainer designed for durability and comfort for those everyday miles. So with that, in the press release, Puma put that this shoe is designed for 500 miles. That's something I've never seen before, meaning they really are positioning it as a shoe that can be your training partner for the long term. And that is the wording they've used describing the shoe to me in person, describing the shoe in the press release. It is training partner. So even just in the marketing copy here, this is something that's speaking to me. If you've watched this channel, you know I love these simple running shoes that we can just lay a ton of miles in, lace up every day, and put in the work. So this thing is releasing February 1st for 130 euros is what it says in the press release. I also believe it's $130 USD. It has a stack of 36 millimeters in the heel, which is right up at the upper limit of what I consider a daily trainer versus a max cushion shoe. And it has a 10 millimeter drop, meaning that forefoot is 26 millimeters. The weight is 264 grams or 9.3 ounces, which puts it right in line with the category of competitors like the Nike Pegasus. And it's actually gonna be a little bit lighter than the new Saucony Ride, which is around 9.9 or 10 ounces. All right, let's hear from Connor over at Puma on how they describe the shoe.
We're focusing on for 2024 is velocity. So velocity is our daily driver, right?
Okay,
so
sweet.
this is our like neutral go-to shoe. Any type of runner, any run, really just solid training shoe. Molly Seidel, one of our biggest athletes, she runs about 130 miles a week and she puts about 90 miles a week in this shoe.
Okay.
We call it your perfect training partner. It's a 36 stack height, has good nitro foam with some EVA for stability underneath it. Really nice, just comfortable, breathable upper. It's just like your good daily trainer.
Yeah, comfortable everyday running shoe, and it has that beautiful Puma grip that everyone loves.
It does.
This is like, I've never seen people obsess over outsole rubber like they do with Puma.
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, we knew we had a good formula when we went into it and launched with it, but we didn't expect it really either. It's kind of our unsung hero.
Yeah.
Okay, so diving into the midsole, based on what Connor said here, the key thing that stuck out to me was they went with a dual foam construction, which isn't super common in daily trainers other than what we're seeing in the Nike Vomero 17 right now. Now, if you've watched this channel over the past few weeks, you know I've been including the Vomero in a few videos each week because I absolutely love this shoe. I don't think it gets enough shine. No, Nike doesn't pay me. I'm not sponsored by them. I just love throwing miles in this thing. It just chews up whatever work I throw at it and is a great durable workhorse style shoe, which is exactly what this Puma shoe is looking to replicate. So if you look at the formula here, they're going with that nitro foam on top, which is similar to Nike's Zoom X, and that it's going to be a softer, bouncier foam, and an EVA on the bottom, which is the same thing in this Cushlon here. The specs are also pretty similar too. Nike does have 3 more millimeters of cushion here in the back, 39 in the forefoot, and then 29 in the heel, versus Puma has 36 and 26. But the Puma's outsole is probably going to be a little bit shallower than this because this thing is super beast, so that adds a little bit of stack to this shoe. So because of the way the midsole is set up in that Puma Velocity Nitro 3, it should have a nice soft and cushioned ride up in the forefoot, but a little bit more of a stable landing platform in the back, which is what I'm super curious to test once we get the shoe in the office, hopefully late January or early February. Now I should note it is not the Nitro Elite foam, which we do see in the DV8 Nitro Elite, so it isn't going to have as much pop as something like the DV8 Nitro Elite or a PIBA based shoe, but a little bit more cushion and energy return than a standard EVA. So the second thing that really stuck out to me about the midsole foam here, and also about what Connor told me, is that Molly Seidel putting 90 miles a week in one pair of the Velocity Nitro 3 is super impressive. So I'm curious to see how the foam rebounds. So that's something that's not talked about enough. How does a shoe's foam rebound when you put a lot of miles on it in a short period of time? So for example, a shoe like the New Balance 1080 V13, that is not a shoe that I would want to run 3 runs in within a 24-hour period. I like to let that breathe a little bit. I like to have the foam re-expand, come back to life. I think softer foams tend to need a little bit more time between runs to rebound, whereas firmer foams can come back to life quicker. For example, the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3, a little bit of a firmer shoe. That one I can throw a ton of miles on and it feels great no matter when I've pulled for it last. Vomero is a little bit in between, but does respond pretty well. I put, I think, 3 or 4 runs on it in a 2-day period before, and it's still pretty solid at the end of that time. So hopefully the Velocity Nitro 3, based on what he's saying here, 90 miles a week and 1 pair of shoes, will be consistent, have solid performance day in and day out. And with Puma throwing in the press release there, that 500 mile mark, I'm keen to put this one to the test, because you guys know me, I'm hard on my shoes and I throw a ton of miles on them, and we're gonna be doing that with the Velocity Nitro 3 once it's in the office. The last thing briefly on the shoe I wanted to touch on before we dive into a little market analysis and comparison is the quality of this outsole here. Puma outsole rubber is one of the like cult status weird goats of this running shoe community. People who run in Puma shoes absolutely love this stuff. It's supposed to be grippy, it's supposed to have the most traction in the game and be the most durable. So that combined with this midsole is making me pretty optimistic about how this shoe is going to be in the long term, and optimistic about how the shoe is going to perform down here in North Carolina in the winter. So what I'm eager to do is to compare it against the Adidas Boston 12 that I've been running in, because that outsole is fantastic. I've run in torrential downpours in that thing. There was a storm a few weeks ago where we had 3 to 4 inches of water down here in Charlotte, and I was just plowing through those puddles in the Boston 12s with super sure footing. So once I get the Velocity Nitro 3 in the office, we're gonna wait till a rainstorm and I will take it out there and see how it does in those puddles, see if it can hold up to what everyone says is being the best rubber in the game. We'll see if it can hold up to that reputation. Okay, so last thing I want to touch on here is where the shoe fits into the market. So based on everything we know about the shoe, it's gonna be a moderately cushioned daily trainer that doesn't have a super soft ride, but also not a firmer ride. That means it's gonna be going up against shoes like the Asics Gel-Cumulus, Nike Pegasus, and Saucony Ride 17. So these 4 shoes are probably the daily trainers that are closest together in terms of spirit on the market. I did mention the Vomero as a competitor earlier, but that one's actually a little bit more expensive and does have a tiny bit more cushioning, at least in the specs. So let's leave it to these 4 as the core set here for this analysis. Now, when we're thinking about the points of differentiation, the Pumas is gonna be that outsole grip and that supercritical foam. Nike's is gonna be, it's just the OG and has a little bit more style than these other guys, and it's probably the best out of this group for the gym use. The Asics Gel-Cumulus, this reputation is one of comfort. This is probably the most comfortable and most cushioned of this $140 price range. And then the Saucony Ride 17, I'm curious what this thing's differentiation is going to be in the market now. I guess they're going for a more cushioned vibe with it, but it's gone up in weight. Maybe they're trying to copy the formula of the Nova Blast. I'm not quite sure what this Ride 17 is trying to do right now, but let's say its point of differentiation is still offering that classic ride with a little bit more pep than something like the Pegasus. Of these bunch, the Velocity Nitro 3 is the one that I'm most interested in trying in 2024. I'm also super curious about the Pegasus 41, which is coming out later this year. That should have the brand's new React X foam, which we see in the Infinity 4 RN, which should modernize that Pegasus just a little bit compared to what we see in the 39 and the 40. So at this price point of 130 and 140, if this thing can hold up to 500 miles, if I can get this thing to the 350 mile club without the outsole being completely burnt, let's just put that challenge out there, then I think it's gonna be super worth it. And if the ride is as advertised, versatile while having a little bit of pep, nice and stable, but a still neutral shoe, this seems like it could be one of the best daily trainers of 2024. So of course, we'll have to wait till we get it into the office, do some testing. I'm hoping Puma can send me one. If not, we're gonna buy it with our own money, guys. Either way, I'm gonna get some miles in this thing. So stay tuned. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video.